Hello, man. I'm still recovering here, folks. I was out in Los Angeles over the weekend. I played golf Saturday and Sunday. Yesterday it was approaching 100 degrees out there. I can't tell you how many bottles of water and Diet Coke I went in. I just ran out of gas on the 17th tee. Just totally ran out. And on the plane home, I must have consumed every bottle of water we had. Whew. Anyway, we're back. Great to be with you here, and it's going to be a great week of broadcast access. What do you want to start with here today? You want to start with Trump? You want to start with that? What? Look, it is. I know this whole thing with redacting the 9/11 call from the Islamic terrorist. If you want to get let me just give you a preview of what's coming on that score. Grab audio soundbite number 2324. I mean, this will set everything up that's coming, including a fascinating email filled with questions about things I said last week about who the left really considers to be their number one enemy. Us. Not militant terrorists, not people who want to murder us, not people, they hate us. They're scared of us. They're whatever, despise us more than they despise Islam. This letter writer went, how in the hell can you say that? How in the hell can it be? So I've got to prove it again today. But here, they sent an FBI assistant special agent in charge in Orlando, Ron Hopper, and he went out there to address the media today. This is after Loretta Lynch's TV shows yesterday. So he went out there. So the bottom line here is, here's where we are. No one can draw pictures. The religion of peace needs protection is the bottom line. The religion of peace needs to be protected because there's so much mean-spirited extremism aimed against them. So much bias, so much prejudice, so much hate extended toward the religion of peace. They need to be protected. Nobody can draw pictures of the Prophet Muhammad. Obama cannot publish the words of a believer who is trying to follow the rules guaranteeing safe passage to 73 raisins. Well, yeah, it's not virgins. We got a new interpretation a couple weeks ago. It's raisins. It's not virgins. But anybody, how did they confuse that? I mean, what do raisins have to do with virgins? How in the world was that confusion? Where did that start? Anyway, so nobody can draw pictures of the Prophet Muhammad. Obama cannot describe militant Islam for what it is. Obama cannot publish the actual words stated and used by a believer while committing an act of terror who was trying to follow the rules guaranteeing safe passage to the 73 raisins. Now, not to nitpick here, but how does jihad fit in with the religion of peace? I mean, if we now have to go to these great lengths to protect them. And just to show you where we are, Ronald Hopper today, this is in Orlando, mere moments ago, speaking about the investigation, which he said could take years, by the way. Did you hear that? This incident, the investigation of this incident could take weeks, it could take months, it could take years. Here's the first of two sound bites, and stand by.
The killer of 49 and the shooter of 53 others identified himself as an Islamic soldier who pledged allegiance to a terrorist organization which was bent on killing Americans. He does not represent the religion of Islam, but a perverted view which, based on what we know today, was inspired by extremist killers. We currently have no evidence that he was directed by a foreign terrorist group, but was radicalized domestically.
So, man, oh man, they've even gotten down to the special agent level of the FBI. They send these guys out and say, here's what you're going to say. And you're going to say he doesn't represent Islam. He was not inspired. It does not represent the religion of Islam, but a perverted view based on what we know today was inspired by extremist killers. But you see, the extremist killers had nothing to do with Islam. No, 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 no. The extremist views have nothing to do with Islam whatsoever. And this special agent of the FBI is telling us, even though the guy pledged support for ISIS, we currently have no evidence that he was directed by a foreign terrorist group, but was radicalized domestic. What's the difference? I mean, when you get right down to it, what's the difference? Here's the next bite.
Part of the redacting is meant to not give credence to individuals who have done terrorist acts in the past. We're not going to propagate their rhetoric, their violent rhetoric, and we see no value in putting those individuals' names back out there. For cowards like this one, people like that influence them, so we're not going to continue to put their names out front.
So we've redacted everything the guy said about the reasons he did it. We're just going to redact it. Because this is almost verbatim for what Loretta Lynch was saying all over TV yesterday. So the orders have gone out from on high, how this is going to portray. I think what you need to remember are the audio soundbites we had last week from James Kallstrom, who was the former head of the New York office of the FBI. And he explained in his own words the practical application today of countering violence extremism, or violent extremism as we detailed it for you last week. It is the latest directive from Obama, which does not permit the FBI to gather intel directly from Muslim communities, neighborhoods, what have you, mosques, you name it. The FBI is not allowed. They can only, in fact, they're not allowed to investigate the social media accounts of Muslims who commit acts of terrorism and describe it on social media. They're not allowed, even though they broadcast it far and wide, why they're doing what they're doing, to whom they're going to do it, not allowed to use any of that in the investigation. Kallstrom made it clear, our hands are tied. We cannot presume, we cannot accept what we learn. The only way that the FBI can utilize any intel is if it happens to come from inside the community, delivered by somebody there, like a rogue informant or somebody in a neighborhood or in a mosque who hears something and then calls the FBI. Then they can deal with it, but they can't go in there and find out on their own. They cannot look at social media. And this is the manifestation of it. Here comes this FBI agent. This guy was not who he says he was. This guy, and so we're not going to publish the words he used because we're not going to allow this guy to tar and feather an innocent religion. We are not going to allow this guy to do it. So we're not going to allow him to continue to propagandize. These people redact a lot. They redacted the Benghazi hearings report, number of the phone calls that went on that night. So, I mean, this is insane. There's no other way to describe this. Is insane, folks. It's literally insane. It is one of the countless number of things that just fly in the face of standard, ordinary, everyday common sense. And it's things like this that make people start asking questions. What in the world is going on? Why in the world is it going on? What? You start asking these questions, start getting very close to it, and then you have to back off for fear of what might descend upon you. But it doesn't make any sense. I mean, the answers to the questions that everybody asks, why this desperate desire to protect? Obvious intent on the part of obvious association. Why protect it? Why try to go to the effort to make everybody not see what is plain as day? Why? You start asking that question and the answers get very dangerous very quickly. Well, they do. That's why, I myself even am backing off. I had a guy tell me he wrote a column trying to answer that question based on my frustration with trying to get right up to it and backing off for fear that literally there may not be any future in going there. No, I don't think it's that cut and snurdly. There's only one conclusion we can come to now, but we can't say it. I don't think that's it. We could go the benefit of the doubt route. You're talking about the president, right? Right. Well, we'd have to go to the benefit of the doubt route if we wanted to touch on this at all. Maybe I will. Give me some. I know I pledge allegiance, but see, he wasn't being ordered by ISIS. They're saying that he was radicalized by the internet. He was radicalized, but he's not really one of them. See, he's not really one of them. He's just a Looney Tune. He got radicalized by who? Who radicalized him? Other extremists that have nothing to do with Islam? Who radicalized the guy? I know, but because you take the Allah references out, because, as I just said, this administration is doing everything it can to protect the religion of peace. This guy's words of motive. Everybody went, why? When something like this happens, why? Why did it happen? Why did the alligator snatch it? I actually saw a story, speaking of that. I'm not kidding you. Over the weekend, I actually saw a serious story somewhere. I was driving. I was not in a position to print it out. I actually saw a story. What was the alligator thinking when it snatched the 2-year? I'm not kidding. It was written, I shouldn't, what was the alligator thinking? Serious story. I didn't have time to read it, so that's a frustrating thing. I just saw the headline, and it was time to get out of the car. I had reached my destination. So it was time to get out of the car, and I forgot all about it till just now. But we're going out our way to protect the religion of peace. Guy uses the word Allah. Guy uses everything that we're accustomed to hearing. No. We're going to redact that because we're not going to allow this guy the opportunity for his propaganda. Now, turn this on any other group, Tea Party, talk radio, you name it, they will do anything, including lie, to try to link innocent people to the commission of certain acts of terror. But with this group, it's the opposite. Do everything you can to de-link it, which raises all of these questions. And then Loretta Lynch all over TV yesterday explaining this, and the drive-by interviewers listening to it, just accepting it. Oh, yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, we must not engage in prejudice. We must not engage in any of that. And then, I know Trump's fired Lewandowski. We're going to get to all that here in just a second. I can't do it all in the opening monologue, as I'm now becoming, it's becoming necessary to say. But we got it. It's coming up. But the official attack on Trump over the weekend, and it's related to this now, the official attack on Trump over the weekend was the focus on Trump saying he thinks Muslims should be profiled. See, you see how this stuff works? They come out, you have an actual act of Islamic terror stated, responsibility taken, phone calls made, the effort, just as the rules of jihad state, when you're in the act of committing jihad and you are making the sacrifice for the 73 raisins, you got to call it in. You have to proclaim it. The guy did everything that he was taught to do. He's the guy we're trying to protect. He's the guy, and what he did, we're trying to redefine. In the meantime, we're going after Trump for profiling. In the meantime, we got to go out and try to kill Trump for profiling, kill his campaign. Which, it's another point here, the polling data on Trump is not as bad as it has been reported. But let me get to that in due course. The official attack on Trump over the weekend was to focus on Trump saying that he thinks Muslims should be profiled. But notice he didn't bring it up. It was a reporter. This is kind of like what happened to Romney with that question out of the blue by George Stephanopoulos on contraception. Nobody was even talking about it. It was John Dickerson of CBS, I think it's CBS, who was interviewing Trump, brought up the subject of profiling. Trump didn't bring it up. But not that there should be anything wrong with profiling. How in the profiling is common sense, which continues to be the number one victim of our cultural evolution in this country. Common sense is dying. Common sense is under attack. Common sense is being slayed. Common sense is being silenced. Good enough for Mayor Bloomberg and the NYPD and even Obama's CIA. They've all worked together to profile Muslims in New York City until later in 2011. I guess it depends on... I mean, hasn't Trump even been profiled as a radical extremist by the drive-by media endlessly? How about Obama? Do you think Obama doesn't profile? What was Obama doing when he's complaining about bitter clingers? Private fundraiser 2008 San Francisco. Wasn't he profiling? Wasn't he engaging in prejudice? Maybe even a little bigotry? Yeah, they're just a bunch of bitter clingers, meaning a bunch of know-nothings, ill-educated boobs. When things start changing for the better and they don't like it and they don't understand it, they cling to their guns, their religion, and beer busts at the VFW hall. Isn't that profiling? And now Hillary Clinton's doing the same thing. I guess profiling is only wrong when it might save lives and help protect us from a terror attack. Then we're not allowed to profile. Oh, and we're not allowed to profile anybody that might be an illegal immigrant. How do people get on the no-fly list, by the way? How do people get placed on the terrorist watch list if we don't profile? But that's okay. That's okay as long as those lists can be used to keep law-abiding citizens from being able to protect themselves. But if Omar Sadiki Mateen succeeds in helping the government take away guns from Americans who want to defend themselves, then haven't the terrorists won? And isn't that perhaps one of the objectives here? This act has reignited. I got to take a break. I just saw the clock. Sorry, back here in a second.